everyone, and welcome back to Travel Flow Radio. Thank you guys for tuning in. We have a very exciting episode today because we have one of my very best friends joining us on the podcast. Welcome to Lena Bond. Thank you for being here on the podcast.
Hello.
How are
Thank you for
you?
having me.
Yes.
I'm pretty good. Yeah, we woke up and it was completely white
Oh my God.
outside, and I'm about to go play in the snow after this.
Oh, that'll be so fun. My-
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, and then I did want to say this before we get started. I meant to say this at the beginning, but this is kind of like a trial Zoom interview. So obviously we're not in the same places. I'm in North Carolina, Talina's in Minnesota. So we're doing like a Zoom interview. So please be patient and understanding if there's any trouble with the audio or any like lagging or anything like that. We'll try our best to like make sure everything sounds smooth, but just wanted to throw that out there. But just a little background for all of the listeners for me and Talina. We actually met, what was that, like back in 2016?
It's almost been 10 years.
Wow, that's incredible. But we met randomly assigned roommate or suite mates in college. So we were kind of like dorm neighbors, and then we shared like a common area. And she had a crazy roommate, so she ended up leaving. But then through like other friends, we got reconnected and became real good friends. Since then, we've been to countless festivals in the US. We've been to Mexico together. We've been to Costa Rica to a festival together. And we're just like big hula hoop buddies, fire spinning buddies. And I love Talina. We used to live together for a little bit, have some crazy stories about that place. So I'm just really grateful to have her in my life. And I'm super excited for you guys to get to know her. I've mentioned her many times before on the podcast, on previous episodes, and I'm finally getting to know her. She's one of the most like relaxed and just like confident women that I know, and I try to embody her whenever I'm out in the world and I'm feeling anxious and I'm like, okay, Talina wouldn't worry about this. Why am I worrying about this? So I'm excited for you guys to hear some stuff that we've done together.
Aw. I'm excited to share the stories.
And where Talina is at right now, she's up in Minnesota and she's been building out a van to start traveling the US in her van. So we're really excited for her. She's leaving in the next couple days, and we're definitely going to get lots of stories of her once she kind of gets into her van life traveling and about like her build out and all the other things that kind of go along with it. So, how are you feeling about leaving, Toto?
I'm super stoked and I can't wait to be out there.
Ready? Are you
I'm
nervous at
super happy
all?
with how, not really yet, I don't think. I'm like mostly more excited to be out there and just like be in the van since I'm super proud of how the van turned out, and I'm just excited to see like a lot of new things. I've never been to the Southwest area, so it's gonna be a lot of new places to go check out.
Yeah, that'll be
Um,
amazing. All
and
those national
then
parks.
I'll have my partner with me.
Yeah, and your kitty cat.
So yeah, I don't think it's kicked in yet that like any nerves really.
Yeah,
I
you
think
just
we're
gotta get
pretty
going.
prepared for
That's
anything that can
awesome.
happen.
Yeah, and Selena also has her kitty cat coming on with her named Margot. And she's the coolest cat ever. She'll go hiking, she'll swim in the water, she'll get up on the paddleboard, all these things.
She's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, she likes paddleboarding and she'll jump between paddleboards.
wow.
She gets along with other dogs.
Yeah, except for my
And
dog
yeah,
Bilbo.
she's like leash trained. She she was a little overwhelmed with Bilbo's excitement, but
Yeah.
I think they would be friends eventually.
Yeah, y'all can follow Selena's kitty adventures at on her Instagram for her crazy kitty cat. It's like Van Kitty Ventures, I think it is.
Yeah, Van Kitty Ventures.
Awesome.
She's really cute and she's got a lot of cool pictures.
We'll go ahead and get started. Me and Selena, like I said, we've been international with each other. I think this Selena's my only friend that I've been international with before. I don't think any of my other friends have left the country with me. What about you, Selena?
Yeah, I think you're my only friend that I've left the country with too.
Nice. Yeah, I want to make it more. I want more of my friends to prioritize like traveling. So I'm happy that you're going on your van trip. But the first time me and Selena went out of the
Yeah.
country was in Mexico, and I had the brilliant idea that I would organize something with this guy that I had met 5 years prior in Mexico and had somewhat of a romance with him. I don't know why I always think this is a good idea, but I was planning on going to Mexico, staying with him for a little bit until I found my own place and then end up living there. And I don't know how many times I've actually tried to do this, but we get there, and this is in Bacalar. And I'm sorry if you're listening to this, whoever I'm talking about, but like, anyways, we get there, and it was just like we had to get the hell out of there really quickly because it was just one of the worst like bathroom situations I have ever seen. I think to this day, after all of the bathrooms I've seen in like India and like Thailand and
Oh
all
my
these other
gosh.
bathrooms, I think that today was like the worst bathroom I had ever seen in my life.
I mean, it was really nice of him to offer his place for us to stay in, but
Yes.
literally we showed up there and it was just like one room. And so it was like pretty small space. And like the bathroom was just horrible. I guess he lived there by himself. And there wasn't even like a toilet seat on the toilet.
And there was just hair everywhere.
Everything was so rusty. It smelled
Yeah,
pretty
and like
bad.
I just understand like also I don't know, I feel like as I've traveled I've gotten used to like shittier bathrooms, but that was just like kind of like a deal breaker. And then I remember like I was like, "Oh, should I bring my own bedding and blankets and stuff?" And he was like, "Oh no." Anyway, I remember we ended up using like our pashminas to like sleep with because we didn't have like a blanket or anything.
Yeah, we ended up only staying there for like one night. And then
Yeah.
I think we got like a hostel or somewhere else to stay the next
Yeah.
days, which was a good move.
It was a good move. Um, and also in that trip we went to like Tulum, which is like kind of where everybody goes. I had been there like 5 years before that, so this would have been maybe like 8 years ago or something like that. Oh well, no, probably
It
yeah,
was
something
like
like that.
4 years ago. I only
Yeah, and
went
then
the
I
first
went
time that I
like
went.
5 years before that, so maybe
Oh,
like
okay.
9 years because I think I was 18 when I first went down there. So it was a lot different when I first went. And then when I went back, it was kind of crazy crowded. And we still had a great time.
Mhm.
I
Definitely
rem
pretty touristy, I would say, but it was still super fun and it's gorgeous out there.
yeah, me and Selena were having a great time. We would go out to like the beach bar area and we ended up getting lost one night and like separated from each other. And thankfully, me, I tried to, even though I am very shit at planning accommodation, I am really good at being prepared. So I had brought these walkie-talkies because we didn't have any cell phone service and we weren't planning on buying a SIM card. So thankfully, we were like, okay, if we get separated, we're on channel 4, blah, 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 blah. Next thing we know, we're both drunk out on the beach, and then I can't find Talina, and we're out of walkie-talkie range. And also, we were trying to get back up to the main road, and like nowhere was letting us have access to the main road. I'm not really sure what was really going on with that, but I felt like every turn I got like turned back to the beach. But we finally found
Yeah,
each other.
like we were stuck. We were literally just stuck on the beach, and we were trying to get off the beach to go to like a different bar or something. But like we had to cut through like a bunch of resorts or something, and every resort like would not let us through. And
Oh my
then
God.
for some reason, I think I got through like a resort somehow. Like the security guard wasn't there, and then as I was walking away, they like stopped you.
Oh
So that's
yeah.
how we got separated.
Mm.
And then, so then I was on the road. I was in the streets,
Your
and
memory's a
Sydney
little
was
bit better
still
than
on the
mine.
beach.
You said you're on the streets?
And yeah, I was on the streets, and then I'm pretty sure my phone died, so I didn't even know what time it was or anything, and I just had the walkie-talkie. And I was like trying to talk into the walkie-talkie to get you, and I just kept getting other like signals. But literally, I don't know. I just kept changing the channels, and eventually I finally got you.
Yeah,
And I
finally
was
we
like,
found each
"Oh my God,
other.
are you still on me?"
I think I had made it to the streets by then. I had
And
gotten off the beach and into the street. But those really saved our
yeah, and so
asses.
I was just really glad that you hadn't gotten in a taxi and like left that area
Oh, I
yet.
don't think I would have done that.
Because I don't know, we got there together. Yeah, I wouldn't have done that either. But there were so many taxis that like drove by asking if I needed a ride and
Oh my
stuff.
God, yeah, because
So
you probably
I was
looked
like, I hope Sydney
confused.
does not get
Just be drunk, just
like
like
try to talk on the
blindly
yeah,
getting into a
we're just like
taxi.
walking around, talking into a walkie-talkie.
Oh man, I cannot wait to the day where I get to like see that footage. Like, when I like pass or whatever and I see like my whole life flash before my eyes. I can't wait to like see that that little snippet. But moral of this story is always bring walkie-talkies and then don't rely on somebody that you met years ago on Hap Chance to stay with. So, but our
Yes,
walkie-talkies, we kept
absolutely.
using them. We kept using them and we were flying
Yeah, and then
out and we were in like Playa del Carmen because Tolino was flying out. I think we both ended up flying out, but we were out the night before and having a good time. And there was this one bar that had free drinks for ladies. And he noticed that I had a walkie talkie on my hip. And he was like, "What are you doing with that?" And they wouldn't let us in without like confiscating them, like during our time in the club. And I was popping off on this guy and like yelling at him in Spanish and being like, this is our way of communication. Like we don't have phones. Like what if we get lost?" And he's like, "You're not gonna get lost. Just stay together in the club. Like we can't have you." I don't know what
yeah,
they were trying to hide, but
we were really going at it, and we were
yeah,
vibing super hard. We were just like, "What do you mean we can't have these? Like,
yeah,
there are walkie-talkies. We need them. They're our only form of communication. Like, what?" And
yeah,
then he just like wouldn't budge.
yeah. And I remember another one of my favorite things about that trip is like Talina had this little like rinky dink pink suitcase that was just like rolling down the streets of Mexico. And like I always like to bring a backpack just because I don't really I like having hands free. But Talina had this little rinky dink pink suitcase that I just thought was like gonna fall apart during the trip, but it made it.
It pretty much did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
it did make it to the end of the trip, but the wheels are like totally ruined now.
that was kind of its
And
last
it's
little
retired.
outing.
Yeah, it's a retired suitcase.
Yeah. Yeah, that was its X Games for sure.
I was like dodging all the little rocks like on the sidewalk with my suitcase.
Yeah, I don't like the potholes because I remember I don't know what it was. We really could not find our hostel at first, and I remember we were just like kind of aimlessly walking, and like I feel like we had to walk a while because I feel like I was so cheap back then. I didn't want to get a taxi or anything, so I was making us like walk all the way through these streets in like the burning heat. We finally found it. We had a nice place to
Yeah.
stay that first
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty good.
Yeah. So, like I said, me and Selena love to go to music festivals, and we had both bought Envision tickets like the year before, and it, or like, I don't know when we bought them. We bought them in like 2022, and they still got canceled or something
Yeah.
because of COVID.
It was it was for 2022, and then it got postponed to 2023.
Like,
And then I think both of us were trying to sell our tickets because it wasn't really aligned with our schedules in 2023.
yeah.
But literally, like, nobody was buying them because everybody was trying to sell their tickets since it got postponed. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's like they're like $100 for a whole week of the festival. And I was going to Southeast Asia with my family literally like right before the festival. And
Mm-hmm.
I was really trying. I was posting on social media to try to sell my ticket and nobody was biting. And I hit up Sydney. I was like, I can't just eat this $700 ticket.
No, I
Like,
couldn't either.
I was
And
like,
I
I think we have to go.
and I also didn't want to sell it because people were selling it for like 200 just to like get
Right.
something like out of it. I'm like, I don't want to lose like $600 on this.
No, and this would have been my second time going to Envision, and the first time was so much fun. I volunteered there, and it was so worth the amount of money that it costs. And so
Yeah.
I was like, Sydney, we like have to go. And
Yeah.
like nobody's gonna buy our tickets, we have to go. And I had literally gotten back from Southeast Asia after 3.5 weeks being out there. I was jet lagged as fuck, and
Yeah. That jet
I
lag
I
is real.
got home, slept for like 3 days, and then got up and went to Costa Rica like that weekend.
Yeah, you were moving and grooving.
But it
I
was
wish,
totally worth it.
yeah, I bet. I wish I could replay our conversation and see, like, when you were like, Sydney, we need to go, and just see how easily convinced I was. Because I'm sure it did not take much convincing to, like, get me to go to a festival in Costa Rica, you know?
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. You
Well,
were down.
I
And
was
I mean,
down. Yeah. I think I
we,
was more in favor of going rather than selling my ticket.
yeah,
I think I was
yeah.
nervous to go alone, which is unlike me, but anyways, well, Talina was super busy, right? Because she's like, poking around Southeast Asia and stuff. And so I was in charge of the accommodation once again. Not my strong suit back then. I'm a lot better about it now that I've like lived and like gone through the drama of like picking terrible places to stay. But I decided to pick something that had no AC, which makes us sound super like American, I feel like, because like people are always like, oh, people from the US, they can't live without AC. But
But we're
it was
built
really,
different.
this was different because it was like, I don't even remember the temperatures, but I feel like it had to be like high 90s, which would be
Oh
like
yeah.
40 degrees Celsius or more, like probably like 42 or 43 degrees Celsius, which is pretty hot. And
Yeah,
uh, uh
90 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, like every single day of the
and
week.
yeah, and like I don't even know, probably 90% humidity.
Yeah, like crazy humidity, really humid. But the thing was like we were so last minute on it that a lot of the accommodation around the festival was already taken up. So like everything that was available was either super expensive or like a hostel that was 20 minutes away without AC. And
Yeah.
that is the one that we chose,
That's the one that we
which
chose.
which honestly was a step up for me compared to the first time that I went to Envision. I stayed in a tent like on the grounds the first time when I was volunteering and literally like didn't even get any sleep because it was so hot
Oh
to
my
like
gosh, I
fall asleep in
bet.
your tent.
Yeah, we did pretty good because we would take our hammocks out on the beach and like sleep out there during the day. So we
Hmm.
would we did well, I was talking about this earlier. Like we did pretty good because we were most efficiently sleeping because we would sleep in the hottest part of the day and then we would party all night when it's the coolest and then sleep all day. So we kind of were like very efficiently using our time wisely and getting our sleep
Right.
hours in.
And I think the festival tries to do that on purpose. Like they start the music a little bit later in the day, kind of towards the nighttime when the sun goes down. So
Yeah,
people aren't really like out there dancing in the like middle of the heat, like during the
yeah,
day. And but the music goes all night. So you're awake all night. Then I don't know, we were going to bed at like 10 a.m. and would sleep until like 3 p.m. and then wake up, get ready, and then go back into the festival at like 7 p.m. or so, or like 8.
yeah.
and then being
And
there for like the rest of the night.
yeah, gotta be ready for anything. I meant to say this earlier about a little bit background on Envision. So Envision is like a 7 day music festival in Costa Rica. So it's definitely like a long haul. And the first 3 days are workshops and activities and things like that, which are super cool. And then on the fourth day, the music starts and they have workshops throughout the day as well, and then like music going like pretty much all night. And then so you dance all night if you want to, and then everybody runs to the beach in the morning and watches the sunrise and like gets in the ocean and then does whatever they do with their lives. But it's really amazing. If you ever get the chance to go, go. And it's crazy. You think 7 days is way too much. And it knocks you out because like after you're done with it, like you sleep for like ever. But I felt like towards the end of it, each like you kind of get better at it the more you're there and the more you experience it. So on the last couple days, I kind of was like, you know what, I could keep going. Like I could do like 3 more days of this, you know? How about you, Toto?
Definitely. I also felt the same way. I like didn't want to leave because it hands down is like my favorite festival that I've
Mm,
ever been to. And honestly, like all the other festivals that I've been to, like music and arts festival, like in the US or even like flow festivals in the US, none of them compare to Envision, honestly, in my book. Just because of the workshops and like the type of music, they play really good, like bass electronic music that is just right on like my music taste. And
yeah.
then also with the workshops, I feel like really healed after the whole experience, and I feel like I have learned like a lot about myself and about new things as well. And I feel like no other festival has made me feel the way that I feel after Envision, which is like crazy to say because we've been to a lot of festivals, but
Yeah.
Envision is hands down my favorite.
I also liked like the music because I listen to a lot of Spanish music in my personal life. So being there, hearing like music with like a more like Latin influence was like really cool for me. Like what you're saying with the workshops, like you get exposed to so many new ideas and like new things to think about and just like new activities and things you would never come across. Just because of the emphasis on the workshops, they really encourage you to go.
Yeah. And also like the sunrises, the sunsets, like it's just beautiful. And like every like corner of the festival is just like a breathtaking like environment. Like you
Yeah.
can be in the middle of the jungle and then go out onto the beach for sunset, and there's all these people out there dancing with like a drum circle, and there's fire spinning. It's just
Yeah.
awesome.
It's
Such a good
awesome.
time.
Another way that we've saved
Okay.
money while we were in Costa Rica is that we would just hitchhike. So we were staying in El Dominical, which is like 20 minutes north of where the festival is. And we would just hitchhike every day because taxis were crazy expensive. And we had our hula hoops and everything. So usually somebody from the festival would be like picking us up and taking us in there. So that was cool. We got to meet cool people and it wasn't too dangerous. Like I didn't
Yeah,
feel
that was
unsafe.
fun.
Yeah, it was a
That
good
was
thing.
fun. That was kind of really my first time even like hitchhiking like that. I
Oh yeah.
like since I was like solo traveling, I didn't really do it much when I was just by myself, but that was actually really fun. And we met like, most of the people, like you said, were people already going to the festival, but we also met some like cool locals that would pick us up, and they knew about the festival. Like everybody knows about it there. So it was just nice, like speaking a little bit of Spanish and like talking to some people just on the way into the festival. And there was never really a time where it was like weird or uncomfortable. So that was great.
Yeah, we won in that regards. The only
Yeah.
like sketchy things that I heard about like during the festival was, well, I know somebody did die, but also the like and I'm not sure, I don't know much about it. That's all I like heard is like statistics. But I also heard that the police are very like intertwined with the cartel there. and the police came in, and apparently the festival normally like pays off the police because I don't know. I don't know why. I guess it's just like respect and like you got to pay your dues, but usually they like pay off the police to like chill out during the festival or something like that. But maybe they hadn't have done that. But anyways, I had met this guy who worked at the medic tent and he was one of like the main guys. He has this organization that brings a bunch of Narcan to Costa Rica for the festival and he brings like I don't know like so many a big large amount of Narcan and for those of y'all who don't know Narcan is used when people are had overdose and it's supposed to like help them survive like an overdose and but the police had came in and they had taken all of the medical supplies all of the Narcan and everything and was like we're not getting this back until you pay us off and the festival ended up paying a certain amount of money. I'm not really sure. I'm sure it wasn't a small amount to the police so that they could get back all of their medical supplies. Isn't that crazy?
Oh wow. I liked it. Yeah, I didn't hear about that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I found out about it afterwards because I was hitchhiking again somewhere because I stayed in Costa Rica and like fucked around on a farm for like a week afterwards and found out about that. But it's crazy from some guy that I had met who was working it.
Yeah,
It's
that's crazy.
yeah, and
That
like you and it's also like one of the biggest festivals, so you got to know that like people are doing things and like probably not getting all the best sources and stuff like that.
right. Narcan is like really important to have, I think, at a festival because I know you can use it kind of like when people are having seizures and
Oh
it helps
yeah.
like regulate your body. So it
Mm,
kind of like reduces the amount of medical emergencies that you have.
yeah.
But actually, another time that I encountered the cops in Costa Rica, it
Oh
was
yeah.
actually a really good time,
Oh, a
actually.
happy cop story.
Yeah, it
Oh,
actually
that's
worked
good.
out for me at least.
Well, we definitely need to hear
And
this because we all need some positivity in our lives.
it's kind of a funny story, but so like this was the first time that I went to, or I guess it was the second time in Costa Rica, but it was my first time solo traveling, and I had like kind of like a couple months planned to be abroad, and Costa Rica was the first stop.
And
And
this was
this
the
was towards the
beginning of your
beginning of
trip?
my trip. Yeah, it was kind of towards the beginning. It was like my second stop. So I had done a work exchange in the mountains of Costa Rica and then went to this little town on the Caribbean called Puerto Viejo,
Yeah.
which I love and would totally go back now. And it's awesome. It's really fun. But so I had met a couple of people from the hostel that I was staying at, and we all went out to some bars and some clubs that night. So we were doing some drinking, and
Hmm.
we pulled up to this one club, and it was just shoulder to shoulder packed. I had to go to the bathroom, so I literally went into the crowd, like it was like super packed, like everybody was like touching each other. And I just went to the bathroom, came out, and then went through the crowd again to find my friends. And as I got out of the crowd, I had this fanny pack on with like my phone, my credit card, ID. It had a little bit of weed in it and a bowl.
Uh-oh.
And literally, as I was getting out of the crowd, my fanny pack was like gone.
Oh
It
no.
was off of my body and I didn't anymore. So I like start looking like I'm telling my friends, I'm like, I had this bag, like I don't know where it is right now. And so then I like they started looking around on the ground for me and I start like kind of freaking out and I'm like asking all these random people if they've seen like a bag like laying around and everybody's like, no, like haven't seen a bag. And I'm like, I asked the bartender, she didn't see one. And I mean, it had like my credit card and ID in it, which are two very important things. And then also my
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah, like all
Um,
of the essentials
but
pretty much
then,
besides the
so,
passport.
and then I was with one of my friends from the hostel and we like walked back to the bar that we were at before this club and tried to look there, even though I kind of knew that it wasn't going to be over there. looked around, didn't see my bag, and so we start walking back to our other friend.
Did you have any other money like
And
anywhere else, or was this all of your like credit cards and cash on you?
so I think I had a little bit of cash back at my hostel.
Ooh,
So I had some cash, but very little, and
yeah.
like also in the bag was my debit card. So
Oh
like it was
gosh.
credit card, debit card, and
Never carry
ID
those
and phone.
together.
But you gotta sometimes, like, sometimes I wanted to take out cash,
Well, yeah,
and
but maybe
that
it's
would be
just
with a debit
taking
card.
one and not both.
Yeah, true. But anyways, I had already was like accepting the fact that I lost all these things. I was thinking I had to ask my mom to send me more cash through the mail or something. Like
Oh
I
my
was
gosh, yeah.
literally thinking of like solution that I can come up with. And as I'm walking back to the club, this random guy comes out and it is like, "Hey, are you like looking for something like your ID and phone?" And I was like, "Yes, I am."
Yeah, you
And
must have
he
looked
was
really
like,
like confused and lost.
yeah, he was like, "Oh, the police have it." And I was like, "Okay." And so he walks me 5 minutes down the road, right, to like two police officers, and they're just standing there. And I was like, "Did you find like an ID?" And they were like, "Yes, this is you," and held up my ID. And they had my like all my cards and my phone with them. And I was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." And the basically the cops told me that what happened was that some guy tried to use my credit card at the bar, and the bartender realized it was like a girl's name on the credit card. And so she asked for an ID with the credit card, and the guy literally showed my ID to go with the credit card.
Oh my God,
And so
trying
she
to
thought it was
pass as a
sus.
Vietnamese woman.
And she thought it was weird and just told the cop that was like outside. And so they got the stuff back from him. But I'm pretty sure they basically had to take me to the police station, and I had to bring my passport or something, like a
Oh,
different form of
really?
ID. Yeah, and it was like this whole process. And like I
Did you
was
have to do
trying to
that
explain.
same night? That all in that
So
one night?
they took me to the police station that night. Yes, but then
Mm.
they requested that I came back the next day with my passport or something so they can give it back to me the
Oh, so they
next
didn't give
day.
it back to you right
So
then and there.
yeah, and so it was like a whole thing, and I was like trying to explain to them what happened in Spanish. And I mean, this was after drinking like a little, like, drinking a few drinks.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that. We'll
And
leave it
trying
at
to trying to explain to them like I just like went through the crowd and like lost the bag and tried to find it. And like I don't know, like they basically said like this guy has been doing it to other people, and they asked me if I wanted to press charges. And I was like, I mean, I guess no, like I don't really have time to deal with all that. Like I
yeah,
don't want
it's like a whole
to
thing.
more. But then they were like, all you have to do is just sign this piece of paper and we can deal with it. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll sign it.
Well, that's
And
good.
so I signed it, and I guess that was me pressing charges, but I don't know. I
Wow.
don't really know.
I've never pressed charges on anybody. I've definitely had the opportunity to, but I did not
Right.
like want to deal with that either.
Yeah. And initially I was like, no, but they kind of talked me into it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
guess if
then,
it's like that easy, you just sign a piece of paper and they handle it. I mean, they probably just needed like evidence that he was doing that to like put him in jail or like do whatever. So you probably saved
mhm.
somebody else from that same thing happening.
Yeah, and they had requested that's basically what they said. Like the cops were saying like if I were you, I would just press charges so he doesn't do it to somebody else. As I was in the police station, at this point it was like probably like 3:30 in the morning or something, like pretty
Well,
late. And they were like giving us snacks there. They were super nice
oh, that's
there.
so
And
nice.
they ended up driving me back to my hostel,
Awesome.
and then they picked me up the next day from the hospital
Oh
to
my
go back to
gosh.
the police station.
They're like, who is this girl getting
And
a police escort everywhere? Like,
I
she must
know
be
it
big
was,
deal. Best case scenario, because you're traveling 21. for the first time ever, like by yourself like that in a foreign country. So you did pretty good, you know?
Yeah, I actually stayed in the town for another 2 weeks, I think, after that. Sometimes I would see like the police car like driving by and they would like be like, "Hey, Talina," and like wave at me.
Oh my God, that's so
And it was so
cool.
silly because I was like homies with the cops. But it was like a big learning experience and definitely best case scenario. I'm glad like the cops didn't try to hustle me or
Yeah, that's
anything. Like,
good. I wonder if they took the weed or if the guy took the weed, you
yeah,
know?
I'm not sure. I'm not
Could
really
have gone
sure.
either way. So that kind of reminds me of just real quick whenever I was in Thailand and I was on like Koh Tao, like one of the small islands, and I was going up to the bartender asking them if they had found anything. I thought somebody stole my motorbike because I went out there and I could not find my motorbike. I knew exactly where I had parked it and I was like, it's not here. And me and these two girls that I had met, we were like walking up and down the street, like looking like crazy. And I was asking the bartender, I'm like, my motorbike is missing. I feel like somebody maybe drove off with it. I even went on Facebook and there was like this Facebook group for this island of people whose motorbikes had gotten stolen. And I like made a
Oh
post
wow.
on that. Yeah. And it was like, my motorbike's stolen. I don't know what to do. Because usually you have to give like some money, and then some places like they only accept like a passport in exchange for like getting a motorbike, which is like not what you like to do because they might mess up your passport. I think this time I had just given money, so I was like, I'm just gonna drop off the face of the earth. These people are never gonna hear from me again. And I had kind of accepted it, and I was like, okay, well, let's just start walking home. And like we're walking home and we walk by my motorbike and I just was on the wrong street like the whole time. Oh my
Oh
God,
my
I felt so bad.
God.
Oh my God. But like think about it, in Thailand, there's so many motorbikes, you know? And I
Right.
just
They all
I
look
just
the same.
completely forgot. But crisis
It's
averted.
funny. I'm glad you found it and nobody actually stole it.
I know. I was like,
Um,
damn, it seemed like it happens there though. Moral of the story is don't use a Vietnamese woman's ID when you're probably a Latino man. Always
or
take the
just
weed
don't
out
do
first when you're stealing someone's bag
it.
and remember where you park your bike, I guess. Well, you guys, that's our episode coming to an end there. Stay tuned to hear more from Talina. I'm sure we're going to have regular stories from her, but thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you so much, Talina, for being here on the podcast. I appreciate ya.
Thank you for having me. It was so
Yes.
much fun, and I can't wait to share more stories with you guys.
Yeah, it's been so fun reminiscing. And thank you guys for being patient with us as we discover the virtual interview process. Hopefully, the audio is really good. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to find me on Instagram at Travel Flow Radio. Okay, thank you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye bye.